Hello YouTube! It's another year, so it's time for another rack tour video. So we got some exciting developments this time. The first one is this nice little dashboard on my door here. So this is showing off just a bunch of information about the rack, its cooling and its power. So I've got some, indicators, some temperatures, some temperature graphs, one day, 1 week, and same idea with power. I've got my current power usage across my feeds, my air conditioner total, information about my UPS with some glitching icons for some reason. I at one point have to look at that. And then power history graph, same idea, 1 day, 1 week. So if we open up here, the lights turn on automatically now. Thank you, Home Assistant. So yeah, I've got some interesting improvements, some interesting changes here, but first I'll just do a quick sweep of the whole rack. Alright, and it's kind of ironic, in my last video I had a comment mentioning that I shouldn't make my long form videos like this horizontal portrait mode rather than horizontal mode. It's kind of ironic given how tall my rack is vertically there. Makes for a longer tracking shot, I guess. So yeah, the first interesting thing here, I've moved the rack out about 2 feet back into the room, and you can see my power plugs there are now technically inside the rack, coming from my sub panel there, which if you didn't see my last video, got a power upgrade at the start of this year. That last video was in March of 2025, and now we're in January of 2026, so it's been almost a year since we got that power upgrade, and I was able to put a sub panel, 60 amp sub panel with 2 30 amp circuits going to my servers here, which has been really nice. But the big improvement this time around is in my cooling. So you can already see this huge baffle thing with fans on it above my rack. But let's go over to the now exposed side here. And we now have a big door here. And panels. I wonder what's behind it. Well, there's your clue. So this is now the hot aisle, where my air conditioner lives. So this is the same air conditioner. I've actually had it for, gosh, almost 6 years now. I got it in the summer of 2019. It's a Toshiba 1200 BTU, just portable single tube air conditioner unit. It's been serving me very well, but I have hacked the crap out of it. So the first thing I did to it, which I don't know for certain if I've done a video on or mentioned in my videos yet, and you can kind of see it if I go into the side here. There's a wire coming out of it here, and I have this ESP board here with a bunch of connectors into it. So what I actually did to this air conditioner is I took the thermocouple that was its temperature sensor out, and I replaced it with a open drain GPIO connection to ESP32 running ESP Home. And the goal of that was I wanted a way to be able to set the temperature quote unquote, that the air conditioner was receiving to either be ridiculously hot or ridiculously cold. And combine that with a permanent setting of 20 degrees, it basically gave me a manual on-off switch for the air conditioner. And I wanted that because it was constantly short cycling. It's sized such that this is technically it's technically the right size, or maybe a little large, for cooling, about 2200 watts of heat. It's capable, 12,000 BTUs, about 3200 watts. So it is capable of cooling a fair amount more than this, but the way the thermocouple was inside of it, it would run for about 5 minutes and then shut off for its, you know, predetermined 5 minutes and then turn on, and it was on and off constantly. It was not a very good, you know, situation for the compressor or the air conditioner, and it wasn't cooling the system very effectively, so I hacked that in and it's been working great. Then earlier this year, ran into a problem. So for context, the air conditioner was sitting, yeah, right about there. And it was always in my way, because ever since I turned the rack, you know, to face this direction, I've accessed it from this side, and it was a pain stepping over the, you know, the tube for the exhaust air that went up there and the power for it. It was just always in my way. And couple that with wanting better cooling, I figured, well, I should just move the rack over and put the air conditioner here, and then I can build a little, it's not a full enclosure, it's open at the top, and there's a little bit of a gap at the bottom. It is sealed against the wall, however, with some weather stripping. But it would help keep all the heat contained in this area, you know, the heat that the compressor generates, the heat of the exhaust tube going out, and the heat from the rack being blown into this area. So I have the, you know, the hot tube there. It's now quite permanently attached to the wall. There's a blower fan in it. It's a honkin' fan, as I like to call it. It's like a 4,000 cubic foot per second, or cubic foot per minute, 4,800 RPM, something like that, 2 amp fan. It's got its own fan controller, and you'll see a bunch of these throughout this this tour. It's my open source smart PWM fan controller that can talk to Home Assistant, so I'll put a link down in the description for that if you're interested in building one. So that's kind of the exhaust. The intake is from this general area, and then the cold air is being blown, or it's being directed into this duct, which is beautifully put together with 3D printing and Duck brand, you know, Quack brand duct tape, which works pretty well. And that ducts it into this tube that's got a board to kind of hold it, because it's very, very floopy. Comes around the top here, and there's an exhaust here with some fans in it. Another fan controller, you can kind of see it there, to direct the cold air exactly where I want it, which is right down over all the servers, rather than, you know, blowing into the room and kind of just mixing with the hot air and being general pain. There now is a fundamental separation between the hot and the cold sides of this rack, and it's already doing wonders for the temperatures. So I'll show you where these are in a second, but there are a number of temperature sensors in this room, and as you can see, my, you know, AC inlet is that temperature sensor you probably saw on the top of the rack. I'll show off in a second. But, you know, top of the rack, 25 and 21 degrees, you know, back of the rack, 20, almost 28, 25. It's doing a pretty good job of keeping it cool. And actually, if we look at these longer term graphs, the back of the rack never gets above 30. And yeah, I consider that a massive win. It's definitely keeping this room a lot cooler than it used to be. But yeah, I do have a bunch of these temperature sensors. There's one right there. So they're just SHT45s, which I've been using for just about everything I've been doing for, you know, temperature purposes recently. There's one there, so that's one. Number 2 is in the actual hot stream. Number 3 is here in the cold stream. 4 and 5 are somewhere roughly there and roughly down there inside the back of the rack there. 6 and 7 somewhere down here. And then 8 is on the windowsill by the open window that lets, you know, fresh air into the room to counteract the exhaust from the AC. So yeah, you can see those here. You have AC inlet, AC outlet. The air conditioner is not running right now. It's in one of its off phases. So yeah, that's warm. Exhaust temp is cool, but as you can see, they're not actually graphed on here. So you can't see. This will get up to about 55 degrees Celsius, and this will get down to about 6 degrees Celsius, which is pretty good. The window intake, it is very cold outside right now, but the window's only ever so slightly, well, relatively slightly open. And then yeah, that keeps the rack environment pretty cool. You can see by this graph. Pardon me. But yeah, then inside the actual rack there's a wall of fans that are kind of blowing the hot air into that hot aisle. So when I close this door, Keeps pretty much all the hot air contained back there, all the cool air out here for the servers, and it's doing a great job. So if we go inside the rack, another thing I did recently, in conjunction with the next thing I'm going to show off, I did replace all my cables. Well, at least all my 1 gig cables with these nice slimline mono price cables. I'd had those for, gosh, almost 3 years now, and I kept meaning to swap my cabling out when I redid the rack. But, oh looky, it's another year. I haven't built my new rack yet. It'll happen one of these days, I swear. But earlier this summer, and it was the summer because I distinctly remember boiling to death in this room trying to do it, I swapped out all my cabling because the old cabling was in the way, and I wanted to redo my cabling because I got some new switches. And this is like the 4th time I've leaned on that light switch. So I was using Quanta switches, an LB4M 1 gig and an LB6M 10 gig, and they were starting to really annoy me. Their interface was kind of terrible. There was weird performance issues that I thought might have been the switches. Turns out it wasn't the switches. I still have this weird network performance issue sometimes, but neither here nor there. I think I know what it is at this point, but that's another purchase. However, as part of that, I bought some Dells, and I got like a ridiculously good deal on these guys as a pair. So at the top, we have the Dell N3048P, which is a 48-port, 1 gigabit PoE switch. So that does have a benefit that I can run my access points, and that's the green wires here. I'll get to those in a sec. Directly off the switch. I don't need PoE injectors anymore, which is quite nice. And then I also have the N4064F. That would focus, which is a 48-port 10 gig switch. Much more 10 gig than I actually need, but it can do more than 8 LACPs without complaining. When I wanted to add the 9th, the LB8M was just, or LB6M was just like, no, you can't have more than 8 LACP lags for some arbitrary reason. So this guy can do a lot more. Then there's a 10 gig, pair of 10 gig links between the two of them, which is great. And the switch does also have a pair of 40 gig ports. I'm not exactly sure what I would use those for at this point. I don't really have a single server that needs more than dual 10 gig, but one day I might. So another change, this is in my house more broadly. You'll notice I only have 2 green ones. If you saw my last video where I explained my access points, I said I had 4. I had a pair down here and a pair in the upper part of my house. Well, now I only have 1 in each location. The Unify LRs just kind of, like, they weren't dying per se, but they've been out of support for like 5 years now. Maybe a bit less, maybe like 3 years. And they just weren't performing very well. I was having a lot of issues with weird spotty reception because I had all my Home Assistant stuff on them. And that last video I said I had about 40 devices. At this point, I'm actually up over 100 ESP home devices in my network. I have an absolutely absurd number of smart plugs, smart switches, all these ESP32 based devices that I've been adding, fan controllers, super sensors, environment sensors in other rooms, just all kinds of random stuff. And that's going to get its own video soon, don't you worry. But I was just hitting the limit of those LRs, and just their age, they were really struggling. They're also only at 100 meg uplink, like a whole bunch of reasons. I decided to say, forget it. I'll just take those out of my network, and all I'm running now are the AC Pros. However, I mentioned a moment ago, I've been having weird network issues. I think it's my wireless access points. I think these ones are starting to die they're almost 10 now. They're about 8 years old now. And I've been driving them hard every single day since I got them. So I'm starting to think they're biting the bullet. There's something flaky going on with them, because I'll just get lots of drop packets all the time for no good reason. And I was getting it before I put all the other devices on this as well. So yeah, I'll probably swap those out at some point this year. But yeah, so down to 2 access points, new switches, new cabling for those switches. I've still got the 2 routers, but this is actually the next thing I'm planning to replace. This one has finally died. It's been flaky basically since day 1, and it was the primary. And a few weeks ago now, I was having some major issues with like my network, my internet traffic, bandwidth just dropping off like a rock. Like I'd be getting like 1 megabyte a second up, or sorry, 1 megabit a second up. And people couldn't, you know, access any of my services. And eventually I rebooted this box and that one took over, and suddenly the problems went away. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I left it down, and it has been having problems starting up. Like if you touch the power switch, it'll turn itself on and off, or the power plug, I mean. It didn't, but it will. So I just kind of left it off after the last power failure, shut it down, whatever. This one's now running primary, so I do need a new pair of routers. I've been following, oh god, oh, what are they called? Of course, I can't think of the name right here. Mono.si, the gateway board. And Tomash, thank you. I couldn't think of his first name. I apologize, Tomash. Not that you'll probably ever see this video, but I've been following that project like religiously. It looks so cool, and I would love to get 2 of them for, like, they're perfect for me. Literally perfect for me. They're a pair of 10 gig, no shortage of 10 gig. They got their 3 1 gig. It doesn't have Wi-Fi. It's got network offloading. It's perfect little boxes for me. The only downside is how I'd want to use them. I don't want to be the guy trying to develop a Debian Linux port and then a FreeBSD port on this architecture that I don't know anything about. I am not a kernel developer. So I figure I'll have to wait a couple of years for that to become an option for me, as much as I would love to support that project and do think it's like a ridiculously cool project. It's just, I need a level of maturity that it doesn't have for my purposes, you know, very custom setup. And I don't have the skills necessarily, or the time to learn the skills to do it myself, which kind of sucks. But that aside, I do plan to get a pair of replacement routers very soon. I'll just get a couple of random 1U boxes. I don't even care if they have dual power at this point. I just need something more reliable. And yeah, so that's my routing situation. Physical servers, it's mostly the exact same. I've still got, you know, the 3-node Ceph cluster running on the R720 XDs. Still got the white box backup server. These guys actually now have 10 hard drives in them. I think it was only 9 at the time of my last video. I can't remember when I bought the last set of 14. So I've got 5 14s and 4 14s and 6 8 terabytes in each one, which I have room for one more 14 that I'm going to need very, very soon, probably after the routers. That's my next big purchase. And then I'll be at capacity, and I'll have to think about what I'm going to do at that point, because it's a hard sell to replace an 8 with a 14 if I'm not putting the 8 back in the cluster, right? It's only a 6 terabyte increase per drive, and those drives have gotten ridiculously expensive along with everything else, and especially computer component prices. So I'm running out of space, but I don't think I'll be able to justify any more than a single trio of drives at this point. We'll have to see how that goes over the next year or so. AI crash, yay. Next up, white box backup server, still the same old guy. Still got its 8 terabytes in it, backing up my stuff every day to itself and to that external hard drive sitting up there. Nice and cool by the cool air return. Here we have my hypervisor cluster, still the same. They're these R630s. They got a boatload of RAM, and luckily I got RAM when it was cheap. We got my R730. I swear to God, I hate where that light switch is, where I want to lean here now that this rack has moved over. Got my base server. It's actually only got 2 GPUs in it this time instead of 3, which I'll get to because, well, the next server, I took one of my R430s, and it is now my dedicated Home Assistant box. So that's my other major kind of upgrade this cycle, this year, was I was running Home Assistant in a VM on the hypervisor cluster, but I recently, well, earlier this year, got a camera, like a Wi-Fi camera for my front porch. There's been a rash of like package thefts and shit in my neighborhood. So I got a camera, and I wanted to run Frigate with some GPU acceleration of the processing to, detect humans and all that stuff. So I needed to pass a GPU into my Home Assistant. But I can't easily do that with my, highly redundant hypervisor cluster, because I need a GPU for all 3 boxes, and I need to figure out a way to pass it through and live migrate. It would be a mess. So I just said, hey, I had the 3 boxes making up my testing cluster, which is off. I haven't done much PVC development since my last video. Haven't needed to. It's been pretty stable, and my main user has not requested any features, so I've just been maintaining it, not doing much. But I had the 4th one spare, and with that testing cluster kind of out of commission, I was like, well, I can justify using that spare box for Home Assistant. So I took one of my T4s out of that, put it in there. It runs great. It does my open wake word, or not my open wake word, sorry. It does my speech to text with Faster Whisper, or my remote Faster Whisper system, which is ironically on the same box now. And it's also doing the frigate processing. And yeah, I'm still doing a little bit of AI random stuff on the base box. So still doing a little bit of gaming, but it has not been a priority for me. And then yeah, I've still got my trio of junk HP servers that I really just want to have fun with. I don't know, take a baseball bat to them, Office Space style, or throw them off a building or something one of these days. They're so old and crap, I can't give them away. But they're taking up valuable space. And then my UPSs. And yeah, that's basically that. Give it one more think if I've forgotten anything interesting. I don't believe I have. So yeah, I'll just leave you with one more pass to the rack here. And while I'm doing this, I'll give my shout out. So if you like what I do or find my stuff interesting, panel fell off the wall. That keeps happening. If you find my stuff interesting, in all its beautiful hacky glory, check out my website, boniface.me. Check out my GitHub. Check out my project pages. They'll all be linked down in the description there. And yeah, hope you found this interesting, and until next year or until a major change, take care and peace.